There is a fundamental gap between how most people perceive the world and how the world actually works. Understanding this gap can completely elevate the way you see life. From childhood, we tend to live inside small, averaged worlds. If you had siblings, good food at home was probably divided equally. In elementary school, most classmates lived nearby, had similar family backgrounds, used the same textbooks, and wore the same uniforms. Even later, in college or at work, people may come from different places, but if you're in the same school or company, your abilities and income levels are still roughly similar. Living in these small worlds for so long, you develop an intuitive belief people shouldn't be that different. Good things should be evenly distributed, and fairness means averaging things out. But once you step outside these small worlds, you'll realize the real world is not average at all. The first time I traveled far by train as a child, what struck me most was not how big the world was, but how unique my hometown actually was. Most of China isn't made of cities. It's fields and rural land. Cities are like isolated islands, and yet those islands carry disproportionate weight. In industrialized countries, most people live in cities, and a handful of major cities account for a massively outsized share of population, economy, and innovation. People are even less evenly distributed. Here's a reality you don't feel day to day. The richest 1% in the world own more wealth than the remaining 99% combined, and just 8 individuals hold more wealth than the bottom half of humanity. This pattern appears everywhere. A few companies dominate entire industries. A few celebrities capture most attention. A few best-selling books and blockbuster films generate the majority of revenue. This is what we often call the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle, originally observed by economist Vilfredo Pareto, who noticed that 20% of Italians owned 80% of the land. But the exact ratio doesn't matter. It could be 10 to 90, or even 1 to 99. What matters is this: a tiny minority accounts for a massive share. You may not see it in your immediate surroundings, but the truth is, the world is not average. It leans toward extremes, and that might make you angry. Why is this fair? If we confiscate the wealth of the top 8 billionaires, couldn't we double the wealth of half the world overnight? Why not eliminate top influencers so others can have a chance? Or maybe you want to become part of that extreme minority. This phenomenon has a name in statistics: heavy tail distribution, sometimes called a fat tail. Unlike normal distributions, like human height, which follows a neat bell curve, heavy tail distributions have long, thick tails. Height is predictable. Most people cluster around the average. The tallest person isn't 10 times taller than you. But wealth is different. There are many people with 10 times your wealth, some with 100 times, 1,000 times. In a heavy tail world, averages lose meaning. Using average height to choose a partner makes sense, but requiring your partner to earn above average income, that would eliminate far more than half the population. Some things like height, lifespan, IQ can be averaged, but overall, the world does not obey averages. The world obeys extremes. So here's the question: if people are similar in height and intelligence, why is wealth so unequal? The answer lies in positive feedback loops, or simply, the bigger you are, the easier it is to grow even bigger. This is also known as the Matthew effect. Take a simple example. A financial product yields 10% annually. If you have $1 million, you earn $100,000 a year. If you have $10,000, you earn just $1,000. Same behavior, same strategy, completely different outcomes. The rich aren't necessarily more hardworking. They become richer because they are already rich. Another example, in 2025, during the AI boom, companies like Oracle and AMD saw their stock prices surge 30% to 40% overnight simply by announcing partnerships with OpenAI. How can such large companies still grow so fast? In economics, this is known as Gebrat's law. A company's growth rate is roughly independent of its size. If both big and small companies grow at 10%, the absolute gap between them will only get larger. Fame works the same way. A popular celebrity gets better opportunities because they are already popular. More attention to more resources to more growth. Even academia is like this. A small number of star scientists produce a disproportionate share of research. Why? Because reputation attracts funding, collaborations, and better problems to work on. Wealth, opportunity, and fame all follow positive feedback because they belong to a multiplicative world. Your gain equals your action times your existing base. The bigger your base, the bigger your gain. That's compound growth. But many people live in an additive world. Work one day, get paid for one day. Your income has nothing to do with your past accumulation. No compounding. This feels unfair. Shouldn't rewards match effort? Once people realize they are in a heavy-tailed world, they often want to flatten it. You can adjust with taxes, but be careful. History shows that extreme redistribution often leads to economic collapse. Economist Thomas Sowell documented cases like Uganda, where expelling wealthy Asian entrepreneurs in the name of fairness led to economic disaster. The key point is multiplication doesn't just benefit the rich. It benefits everyone. If your company launches a new product and needs promotion and the platform tells you, don't hire a top influencer, they're already too rich. Pick a smaller one for fairness. You wouldn't agree? You hire top talent because they maximize impact. Multiplication works both ways. You want to multiply by a large number, so do they. And consumers benefit too. Strong partnerships are often win-win-win. Yes, inequality increases, but it's not permanent. Celebrities fade. Industries decline. Companies get disrupted. There are no eternal winners. Even within a lifetime, people move up and down. Longitude studies show many poor young people increase their income significantly later in life, and the very rich don't stay at the top forever. Wealth erodes through bad investments, inheritance dilution, divorce, taxes, inflation. Ironically, investment risk itself is one of the fastest ways to reduce wealth gap. So yes, inequality is real, but if it's the price of a multiplicative world, it's a price worth paying. Because what's truly dangerous is not that some people fly high, but that the entire system stops moving. Instead of complaining about unfairness, ask yourself, how do I move from the additive world into the multiplicative world? You need to abandon the obsession with averages. In an additive system, you try to fix weaknesses. Like the college entrance exam, each subject is capped at 150 points. Even if you're a math genius, you still only get 150. So, your best strategy is to improve your weakest subject. But in a multiplicative world, you only need one long edge. We don't care how weak a mathematician's English is. We care how strong their math is. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, once said, the highest returns usually come from getting even better at what you're already good at, not from fixing your weaknesses. Most people focus too much on their flaws. You want to be world-class in a narrow intersection, not average at everything. To enter the heavy tail, find a field that allows multiplication and build positive feedback loops. Take venture capital. Roughly 10% of investments generate 85% of returns. But success doesn't come from spreading bets evenly. It comes from doubling down on winners. That's why investors value pro rata rights, the ability to invest more in companies that show strong growth. In a multiplicative world, you cannot treat all opportunities equally. you must align yourself with strong multipliers. Of course, positive feedback isn't always good. Viruses spread this way, so do panic and financial crises. Disasters like market crashes, hurricanes, and earthquakes are also outcomes of cascading feedback in complex systems. This is what Nassim Taleb calls black swan events. So in a heavy-tailed world, don't just think about getting rich. First, make sure you survive. Understand fragility. Understand anti-fragility. Also remember, nothing grows forever. At some point, returns diminish, and you'll need to build a second curve. We'll cover all of that later. But for now, remember this. The world favors extremes. This is not a kindergarten where everyone lines up and gets equal fruit. Equality is artificial. It requires deliberate distribution. Nature doesn't work that way. As an ordinary person in a heavy-tailed world, my strategy is simple. Enter the multiplicative game. I want to connect with capital network effects, reputation. I want my past achievements to amplify my future opportunities. I want to build credibility, personal brand, compounding growth, positive feedback loops. We'll give you tools to do exactly that. But for now, isn't the heavy-tailed world actually kind of fascinating? That's it for today's content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.